Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Random Horror Show with my short ass breath. No, I don't have Aunt Rona, Decepticon, Omnicron, Starscream, Megatron, Transformer, Corona. I don't have that. Jenkins. I don't have that. But thank you for welcome. I can't even talk today. But thank you for coming back. And of course, here at the Random Horror Show, where we film commentating being random and silly with horror, science fiction, cult classics, and the obscurest in movie, television, and books. I am slightly up under the weather, and thank you for joining me in this Rinky Dink podcast coming straight up out of the Iron Pine Curtain of East Texas. I maybe sound like I'm a little out of breath and everything, but that's okay. I feel a hell of a lot better than I did yesterday. Well, a bit better, but not quite out of the woods with this yet. But tonight's podcast, I'm going to be talking about Tales from the Hood. I may have misspoke about it being almost a masterpiece. Actually, it is a masterpiece. And the reason why I call it that, like I said, I spoke a little bit too soon, is because of things that was going on in 1995 is still going on today in 2022. It just got fucking worse than what it is. You have 4 stories of 3 guys going into a mausoleum, or funeral home as we call it, where the mortician, played by the late Clarence Williams III, tells our wonderful, wonderful guest of 4 stories. The stories have so much a resonation of what is going on right now and still is going on today. You have one story is about police brutality and the slain, wrongful death of a leader that is very popular in the black community, where he is bringing justice on police brutality and drugs and everything that plague the black community. The second story is about domestic violence, where a child named Walter names his stepdaddy or something like that as the monster, as he comes into school with bruises and kinds of, he's just poor little Walter. He just got all these bruises and black eyes and things like that. Well, he manifests all his anger and his pain, his hurt into his drawings, what he got from a little girl in his classroom that told him to do this right here. You also have the third story, which is a little bit more of how my region is and everything, of a politician who is running for governor, and he stays in the home of an antebellum that had a massacre of slaves, in which the slaves' souls were placed into little dolls. Well, shit gets hairy for him, as the dolls, the souls, as he is seeking his elections and trying to clean up his racist past racial image and everything, to gain all the black supporters, to make everybody seem that he's a changed man, but he is still the same pissy shitty motherfucker. And then of course you have the 4th story of this gang member named Crazy K, with his ugly ass Martin Van Buren sideburns he had, and then he had that little stupid ass K cut up on the top of his head and shit. And I was just like, who the hell puts a damn K upside their head like that? Him. Well, he's out and about and he sees some guy and he shoots him, or smoke him, as they said back in the 90s and everything. And then of course his homeboys come out and shoot his ass and stuff. But he also goes through this rehabilitational program that he has to go through to see if the process will either make him or break him, or he change his ways. Tales from the Hood is written and directed by Rusty Cundieff. I believe I pronounced his last name right. He also plays Walter's teacher, in this movie. He has a cameo appearance by his parents. His mother, she plays the old voodoo woman in the third story, and also his father, who was the pastor that did the funeral procession for the racist governor that was running for, you know, for politics. It was his image consultant that passed away. He was doing the services on. I thought that was like pretty neat that he had his parents to cameo in his movie. That is wonderful support right there from your parents, and they should be proud of him because, I mean, it spurred two more Tales from the Hood movies. They're not as they don't stand up as much to the first one. And that's the reason why I say this one is a masterpiece, especially within the horror genre. It's already enough that black people do face a lot of horror as it is anyways. It doesn't matter what country we come from or what region we come from. It doesn't matter if we're poor or we're rich or we're middle class. If we, you know, wear natural hair, if we wear wigs or the 27-piece lace. It doesn't matter if we wear gold chains or we wear gothic. It does clothes, shit, blurs. It doesn't matter. We all do face some type of fuckery from either from inside of our community or outside of the community. No matter what. Ooh, black people be tired though. We be tired though. Shit, we be tired. We be tired. I'm telling you, we be tired and everything. But I do, like, I mean, in the beginning when I seen, and it was the way how it was marketed. You know, you have the skull with the gold tooth, and this is like the very rise of like gangster rap. You had the gangs and stuff like that. And just for me, looking on the outside as a black person that grew up in a rural town, we didn't have things like that. Now, we did have our shit of like drugs. We had, you know, our type of stuff too and everything. We had people that get killed, you know, in the community. And then there's some bullshit like, you know, what happened in the first story. It still goes on. You wouldn't think that that would still go on, but it does, and it's real messed up. It's real messed up. But yeah, but when, you know, that was like coming all about, I was just like, man, this movie's gonna suck. And of course I watched it. I said, man, this movie don't fucking suck. Tales from the Hood did not suck, because I think it was just the marketing and the way how they had the skull with the gold tooth. And, you know, you gotta understand, that was like foreign to me. Like, that shit was like deep down foreign to me, because I didn't grow up with a lot of like stuff like that. And like I said, we did have our issues with a lot of drugs that came in our communities. It was a lot of kids that I grew up with. Their parents got hooked on crack and heroin and stuff. So that was like our shit right there. But the whole, you know, gang banging stuff like that. And the only time we heard things like that, if it's like in Dallas or Houston, with the whole gang banging things. I mean, even when I spent spring breaks and sometimes my summers in Houston with my aunt and uncle, they lived in Fourth Ward. Well, it was a nice neighborhood, but still you had like that type of bullshit that goes on in their neighborhoods. And I remember when I walked to the store, my uncle's like, yeah, you need to come back before night. And I knew what time it was. I knew what time it was and stuff, because, you know, even though I'm a little 16, 17-year-old girl from the country, you know, all that shit, you know, I still knew what time it was. There was time for me to like get my butt back into his house, because you don't want to get caught up with the type of crap that's going outside. And it's true, because there were guys that would, they were in that gang type life shit. And I remember one time they like cussed me out, and I'm in high school, because I wouldn't even give them the time of day, but I cussed their ass out. And my brother said, "Man, they could have shot you." I'm like, "Shoot me for what? Because I didn't give him my number?" Like, I'm 16 years old. Them niggas old. Yeah, I kind of said it. Yeah, I said the N word. Them jokers were old, and they get upset, and they called me a bitch and everything else like that. And that was one of the things I did not like about the whole situation of, like, when rap was really awesome and great and people can dance to it. There was a lady who did say, like, look, y'all, this gangster rap is degrading to black women and things like that. And they literally talked crap about her. They shut her down. They said that, oh, she's trying to hold the black man down. No, she was saying this with just in music and stuff is very derogatory, and it's going to be a really huge problem down the road. And all those people talk crap about her and told her that she was, she's crazy, she's whack and things like that. And guess what? Look, a lot of people are tired of like with some rap music. Why is it gotta be bitches and hoes? Why is it gotta be popping, bottles? Why is it gotta be drugs? Why does it gotta be money and things like that? I remember rap used to be very positive, and it was talking about the community, how we can overcome a lot of obstacles that was conflicted in black communities, and how we can make sure that the future was very bright for like young like black boys and black girls and everything. I remember that right there, but that's just a rap right there, bro. It's just a rap. Kind of reminds me of that Chappelle skit whenever the game show, I Know Black People. And then there was the question, like, whenever black people gonna get together as a people, and people said, I don't know, no, and they're like, correct. And I was like, basically, yes, that's correct. I don't know when we're gonna get together as a people, but I'm just gonna live my life. I'm just gonna do what I do, things like that. But it does. It like I believe like the movie does not just only scratch the surface, but it also goes very deep, pretty down to the layer of like how we not only we see ourselves, but how like outsiders see ourselves. This movie was not about just only a black movie. It was a movie for everybody to see. It's still in the horror genre. I mean, if you're a big horror fan, I mean, geez whiz, you wouldn't just be like, oh, that's just a black horror movie. I don't think I'm gonna watch it because that's not part of me. But I'm like, for me, it's like anything horror that I can watch, that I can look at, and its relation to horror, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, hell, I'm just gonna say it like this. I've been watching y'all horror movies for a long ass time and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't got no beef with that. And I feel that like black horror movies, especially like black characters, in horror movies always have the shitty end of the stick because they always get killed early, or they get killed in the middle of the movie, or they killed close to the end of the movie. The only survivor that has survived a horror movie is 13 Ghosts with Rod Digger. Okay, she survived from like the beginning to the end. She's played Maggie, the caregiver, the nanny for Tony Shalhoub's children in 13 Ghosts. She's the oh yeah, Busta Rhymes. So pretty much, Busta Rhymes was like an H2O, like Halloween H2O. So like pretty much it was like Flipmo Squad. It was like Flipmo Squad. Flipmo Squad survived those horror movies. I'm dead. I just like sit there and just thought, I'm like, oh my gosh. Because Ron Digger and Busta Rhymes is with Flipmo Squad, and they were both in pretty well known horror Hollywood movies, and they survived them. I'm gone. I'm tripping. That is so hilarious. Ah! Wee doggy. I gotta sound like Jed Clampett. Wee doggy. So tonight's tale, as we deep dive going to get the shit and reliving our nightmares. In tonight's podcast, Tales from the Hood. Thank you so much, and welcome back to the Random Horror Show. Our tonight's podcast is Tales from the Hood. It is a horror drama movie that came out in 1995. I was a junior in 1995, and it tells four horror stories that actually are plaguing not only our society but black culture and black communities as well. And we first are summoned with three guys, Stack, we have Bulldog, and Balls. They're going into the mausoleum, or the funeral home as we call it, where Mr. Sims is there. Mr. Sims is the owner and operator of the mortuary, or the morgue, or the funeral home, as we call it. And Mr. Sims has the shit, as he like he says and stuff. So he invites the guys in, and of course he found these drugs that was in this back alley, and he was like, I got your stuff. He's like, because they kept saying the shit, and he was like, what do you mean the shit? What do you mean? You know the shit. And he's like, oh, the drugs. Yes, the drugs. We're gonna make the transaction, you know. I love how Clarence Williams III does his part as Mr. Sims. And he leads them on to this creepy ass funeral home, leading these guys and telling four unforgettable tales. And he raises up the coffin and he tells the first story about a rookie cop that was on call. And of course, it was a man that these police officers stopped, and he thought that this was just a regular perp or some bullcorn with it and everything. Well, he ran the plates, and it come to find out it is Morehouse. Now, Morehouse is this big leader within the Los Angeles community, and he was putting away like cops left and right who have been selling drugs, who have been doing shady ass shit. And he was like bringing them down with the justice, and he was like that that prominent like leader in the black community. Well, they finally caught him. They bust him up really, really bad. This is showing like police brutality, until Clarence realized that it was Martin Morehouse that they were brutalizing. And of course, the cop code, you know what I'm saying? If a cop does something awful to an innocent person, but that gaslighting shit right there. And so, Clarence was, he was like, I'm finna tell, I don't give a damn. I'm a newbie. I'm a like rookie and stuff. And he was like really in this pickle. It was like, do I go along with it or do I tell? Well, they framed Martin Morehouse of saying that he was doped up on heroin. He had cocaine. They pushed him in his car off the pier. It was like really a very sad death, and he was horribly done wrong by these cops. Well, you think about Clarence. Clarence was like, what should I do? Well, Clarence actually didn't do nothing. He dropped out of the force. He became a drunk because he was drowning his pain and his sorrow, because he let somebody good that was doing so great for the community, and though he was in the blue himself, he should have backed up Morehouse. He should have exposed him. It didn't even matter like like, that's the thing right here with Clarence, is that he took like the coward side of it and everything, instead of just like standing up and saying, this will cost me my job, but you know what, I'm doing the right thing, because an innocent man was wrongfully murdered because of him doing the right thing and cleaning up his community and putting the real bad guys, which is crooked cops, in jail and things like that, and exposing them. And so the year anniversary comes rolling up around, and Clarence gets like a very eerie call from Martin Morehouse from the dead, and Martin's like, bring them to me, Clarence. And so he did. He brought him to the cemetery. They were mocking Clarence. They, saying that he sucks, because he dropped out of the forest, and just because, he let himself down, they see him as a coward, which he really was. But Clarence was just doing what Morehouse was telling him to do. Well, he got back at all of the three cops, and he did some he really fucked him up and everything. Like, that was hilarious. Whenever, Strong, which is played by Wings Hauser, which is the father of Cold Hauser, which we've seen in The Cave and Pitch Black. That's his son. Well, his dad, Wings Hauser, has been in so many movies. The one part, like, I did get tickled out, like, I'm gonna piss on his grave, and he started peeing on his grave and stuff. I was just like, that's so crazy right there. That, like, part tripped me out. But he got back at the cops. But when it came down to Clarence, Morehouse was like, you had the power right then and right there a year ago to expose these fools of what they done, but you bitched out on me. You know what I'm saying? You knew who I was. You knew the justice I was bringing, and I would have made your job as being a police officer brighter and better. Just because you in the blue, you don't have to follow that boys like in the blue code whenever they fuck up, and keep it a secret, because a lot of times when you have police officers that do atrocious things to like citizens, it don't even matter if they are they're guilty of like saying they had drugs on them. There's no reason to beat the fuck out of them. I know a guy, he told me that, he did have drugs on him, but he left the car where it was. And no, he wasn't black. And he did take off running. And they did catch him, but they didn't have to beat the hell out of him. And he was so badly hurt. They did take him to the hospital. He had broken ribs. His family didn't even know where he was. They were quite worried about him. And he was in the hospital for 4 days. He woke up in the hospital for 4 days. Excuse me, 4 days that passed. And it was crazy. And yeah, he went to prison, but he's done with his prison sentence and stuff. But yeah, I mean, shit like that, you do hear things like that. And it's just not like, oh, that's like, the dude was white. Yeah, the guy was white who got his ass beat by the cops like that. Let me go ahead and get some water. Excuse me. But it's still wrong. It doesn't matter if they're white or black, Hispanic or whatever. You shouldn't be beat down like that. You shouldn't. We had, some of the past, excuse me, of not too long ago that we had the whole I can't breathe. Officer had the neck on the man, George Floyd. We also had Breonna Taylor, got shot up in her house. We had a whole bunch of cases like this. And it doesn't even matter what color they are, it's still wrong for, police to use excessive force on, on people like that. Now, it is on their call, too, if they have to use that. But seems like these people who've had excessive force and, of course, lost their lives in the duration of this, or not alive, there was no need for it. But I do believe in, like, getting all the crooked ass cops and shit. But I do not believe in, like, defunding the police, because I need them hoes in my life too. And I had to call them up on some certain situations and everything. And, I just know, like, from seeing it from two different perspectives, I really do. Excuse me. But he, Morehouse, he gave Clarence the whole shebang of letting Clarence go crazy in a mental ward and pin the murders of all three cops on him. And you wonder, why did he do that? Well, it's because he didn't help him. Because Clarence was a coward with that. And he should have done the right thing and turned all three of them in. And he would have been, if he would have, like, know how to go through the proper channels of, like, not himself being killed by those that's on the force and everything, but for him to, like, go through the proper channels to where he will be, like, well protected, and for this investigation to, like, to take place. I believe, like, if Clarence did the right thing, it would have been a whole bunch of stuff that would have changed for Clarence, and and Morehouse would have been still alive today, and it would have, like, made Morehouse more just not only, like, a leader of cleaning up the streets, but, like, proving Morehouse, to the people, like, look, you see, I am right, because these are the type of cops we don't need on our force. We need the type of cops that will protect and serve our communities, and we will have, like, olive branches and things like that, and where we work together, because I'm just going to tell you like it is. A lot of people don't like a lot of crime and shit in their neighborhoods. They really don't. A lot of people like to walk freely in their neighborhoods without thinking somebody's going to jump on them or somebody's going to peddle drugs to them and things like that. And I totally understand that right there. I mean, shit, like, you don't want to go down the wrong alley and there's, like, a bunch of, meth heads and crackheads and, hypodermic needles and things like that. This shit's scary as hell. Have you ever, like, been on the streets of San Francisco and you turn down that wrong ass alley, like, wrong way? And you like, oh shit, I done walked into the damn Twilight Zone. I done had that happen to me before a couple of times. I was like, woo! I done had that happen to me, but, I had to be, like, country smart, had to throw on my thinking cap and shit, because when you turn down that wrong ass alley in San Francisco and stuff, and you see all that, you be like, yeah, I'm gonna, like, bounce on back. This shit is like The Walking Dead right there. For real though, it is. That's some real ass horror shit. Turn the wrong turn on an alley in San Francisco. Scare the hell out of me. Shocking. It really is. It's shocking. So you have, like, the first story out of the way, and they are still hollering, "Where's the shit? Where's the shit?" But not so fast, as Mr. Simmons says. Mr. Simmons presents another coffin. Another horror tale of a young boy named Walter, who is new, and he goes to his new school, and he has, if you notice, he has, like, a little bit of a dark circle up under his eye. Yeah, somebody's whooping his ass at home. So he gets into a fight with one of the young kids, Tyrone. I believe it is Tyrone. Old green eye Tyrone with the good hair. I had to throw that in. And His teacher is a little bit concerned about Walter. And Walter is, every night, he is plagued by the monster. He's in his bedroom. You hear shouting, you hear growling, and you see the door jiggling and handling and things like that, and it's the monster. You're like, oh snap, and you see the little monster's hand, clawing like at the door opening and stuff, and Walter's just crying and crying and bawling his little eyes out. Well, Walter comes back to school and he has a fracture. They go to the nurse's office and they were asking him questions and he keeps saying the monster. So they're just like, maybe it's just his imagination or whatever like that. But you still have the sus of like, this boy is being abused in his own home. Well, Walter sits in, everybody's at recess, and Walter has one of the schoolmates give him an idea, like whenever he's afraid or he's scared, that he draws whatever that's scaring him and you burn it or you throw it away. So he drew the monster and the teacher comes in, he's like, that's the monster. He's like, who said? That's Tyrone, because he was pissed off at Tyrone because Tyrone beat his ass and Tyrone didn't have no reason to beat his ass. Well, the picture flies down on the floor and Walter picks it up and balls it up, and Tyrone is taken to the hospital because Tyrone's ass got crunched up. So Walter possessed these supernatural powers of anything that he manifests, whatever he puts into his drawings, whatever he is upset and angry about, he manifests those into his drawings. And when he gets ready and it's time to like throw them shits away to make sure that whatever is bothering him can't hurt him anymore, oh yeah, they got hurt. They got hurt. So little Tyrone with the green eyes and the pretty hair and everything, him going to the hospital. So the teacher is like, all right, I'm finna make a house call, and of course is met by Walter's mother, Sissy, which is played by Paula J. Parker, cute as she can be, and she's basically, tries to throw Walter's teachers off because there is a problem of abuse. She tries to make sure that Walter is not telling the story about the monster, which is his stepdad, and that like they have to keep it a secret. You can tell that Sissy does have Stockholm syndrome because she's so afraid of Walter's stepfather beating the shit out of her and hurting Walter. A person with Stockholm syndrome will do anything in their power for themselves not to get hurt, and say like their child and everything not to be hurt. They would make up anything to like throw that person off because it is a horrible prison for them, and it really is, because usually just pointing out in the black community, and of course the way society is, we usually turn that blind ass eye to domestic violence, and usually you have them stupid ass questions, well, how come you didn't leave if they were doing that? First of all, them motherfuckers, the abuser, have already just literally psychologically damaged you. I mean, they've stripped you of every power that you have to the point where you cannot leave. They will use so many gaslighting manipulation tactics to where you're not able to run off, where you're not able to tell anybody. You're able to cover up the bruises, to make the lies and things like that. I mean, you're be on eggshells and stuff. It doesn't even matter if you do the things right or if you do the things wrong. It's all about control from the abuser. And so you can tell that, Sissy is being controlled by her abuser, Carl, or aka the monster. and the monster, Carl, comes walking in the door. And she acts differently, and you can tell when somebody acts very differently if they're are being abused. You can just tell from just right off the point when somebody is in a very abusive relationship, of how their demeanor change, how their movements are. They try not to give off any type of indication that, like, I'm being nice to this person, but they shift their eyes down, like very shameful or something, or they start talking a little bit like murmuring and things like that. Um, you know, they try their best not to offend the abuser, because they know anything of the slightest, if they laugh or they crack a joke, or or agree with somebody, the abuser will take that, and deliberately later on, they will either beat the hell out of them, or they emotionally abuse them, or anything else. They will take anything from the victim, if they have an interaction with other people, and use that against them. Usually, they are very isolated from other people, because the less people know, um, the lesser people know they are being um, abused. I mean, the same way how in Malignant that you had Madeline, whose husband was a very was an abusive man, and they didn't even have like any friends. The neighbors knew that he was very abusive, but you seen in Malignant that her sister was kept away from Madeline. And Madeline, and usually with victims, they have to put on a script, or they have to act, like kind of mean towards their family members, in order for them to, like, oh gosh, they done changed on us, and we're not gonna fool with them. And really, it's heartbreaking, and it's sad for that person who's in an abusive relationship to do things like that, and knowing it's a cry for help, but they're like, I don't want them involved in this, because if I do involve them with this, I'm going to get it later on, this person might kill me. And yes, people, the abuser do kill their victims that they're abusing, and even the kids. There's like so many reports. It wasn't not too long ago we had a guy that killed his 2-month-old child and girlfriend. So it's terrible. It's very, very, very terrible, and it's very sad that this happened. But back to what we was talking about and stuff. So we know there's domestic violence happening. Well, shit get a little bit out of hand whenever the teacher goes back and he gets in the car, and he's just still he's like, not, how would I put it, like this, he knows what's going on, but he's just being oblivious to some shit. And so he goes back into the car until he hears Sissy screaming, and he looks up in the window. He sees Carl just whipping the dog shit out of Sissy, and he runs back in the house to help them. And you know, um, poor Walter, he gets slapped down and he gets cursed at, and I'm just like, man, this shit was heartbreaking too. I mean, that is like some real deal ass shit right there, of showing like the horrors of like many kids, and then their mothers like going through things like that, in their own home. And then I know for some of y'all who are listening, do know or went to school with children that have had mysterious bruises and things like that, that has, came to school, and you're not thinking about things like that, but then come to find out, they come out later on that, yeah, they were being abused by their mother, or they're being abused by their father or stepfather or stepmother. It's very heartbreaking, it really is. And sadly, they do have many adult emotional problems throughout their adult life, just healing from the trauma from that. And so, yeah, he was slapping the crap out of Walter, and he was slapping the crap out of Sissy and stuff, but Sissy went for that frying pan. Yeah, she went a little bit too late with it and stuff until Walter pulled out that little pitch and everything. And he like slick fold that bitch back, and that damn arm said whoop like that. Boy, I got so tickled right there. I got so tickled. I really did. And Walter did a damn number. And the teacher was like, you know what to do, Walter. He opened up that fire on that stove and burnt his ass to a crisp and everything. And that was the second story. And of course, that story does resonate with me because I am a survivor of that. And I was just like, man, this shit sucked though. Like, for real, this shit sucked. It really do. I wasn't triggered by it, but God dog it. I'm so glad I'm not in that type of relationship anymore. I am a big survivor. I really encourage women, and men, if you have like a spouse or anybody that is abusing the crap out of you, it doesn't even matter if it's physical, mental, emotional, there's any type of abuse, there's hotlines out there for you to call. I know there's shelters out there, and I know it's really, really weird because since the pandemic, a lot of domestic violence have risen quite highly during 2020 lockdown pandemic. That is really, really, really heartbreaking right there. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. We got to do better. We got to do better. This domestic violence shit has to fucking go. And it just really does. I don't understand, like, why would you want to beat somebody? Because they're not. It's just all about control. That's all what it is. It's just about control. It is. It really is. Because the person who's the abuser doesn't have any control. But we also go to the third story where we open up. This is actually one of my favorite ones, which is the souls of the politician that is trying to get that really squeaky clean image of, because he had a very racist past and everything else. So he stays in his plantation antebellum. He is actually played by Corbin Burnson and Duke Metzger. And it is from like two guys that actually one of them was David Duke out of Louisiana, and I remember David Duke was trying to run for governor of Louisiana back in the day, and so he supposedly cut all of his ties of the KKK. He was trying to get a lot of black votes. He was trying to clean up his racist image of being with the KKK. I know what they have, like the red and the green. They have the dragon. Boy, they got so many. They got so many leagues and stuff. Like the Grand Wizard, the Grand Dragon, the Grand Poobah. They got like the purple, the red, the green, and they also have a black, I believe, colors to like differentiate like the like the generals and shit like that, and corporals and stuff. For real, like I'm not gonna lie. I did like watch like a documentary on how the KKK began, and it's very fascinating. As we know, the KKK is a domestic first American terrorist. They really are. And it's really intriguing. I'm not going to say like they're like so awesome. No, they're not. But it's very fascinating of how they first started. It wasn't about that. And then they just did a 180. And then they start lynching and, terrorizing black people, gypsies, Jews, anybody that's just not typically called an American, just anybody that's darker, or they just feel they're just not extremely white, they will terrorize them, burn crosses, lynch them, just all kinds of atrocities that has been going on ever since the KKK, America's first homegrown domestic terrorist group, since like before the turn of the 20th century. So, yeah. And those guys got the freedom of speech and everything else. I find that to be wrong, because I'm like, y'all, you just gave a terrorist group freedom of speech and everything else. But I did watch a documentary on the KKK. Like I said, it's fascinating. It's not something that I just like feel that it's like it didn't get me angry, but I was just like, man, I feel so bad for these people, because these people are like so fucking stupid. They're so stupid. And guess what? The turn of the 20th century, when Woodrow Wilson was president, he watched The Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation was the first movie that was out that that had a guy who was in blackface, as the KKK was reared as the heroes in this movie, and they had to capture and kill the black man that was terrorizing a white woman and getting ready to rape her. That's where a lot of that paranoia of, like, with black men is going to rape the white women and things like that. Well, they put this movie out, and Woodrow Wilson, he watched it and he was like, oh, these are like the America's heroes. And he thought like the KKK was the greatest thing since sliced bread. That was really crazy. And the KKK actually had up to 1 million members during that time, during Woodrow Wilson's presidency. They really did. That's scary right there. That's like tremendously scary. A terrorist group in America had 1 million members. That's, you know what, a lot of things like this don't even like surprise me anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break and get some water, and I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back, and I just got through taking a break. We're talking about Tales from the Hood with a third story of the dolls. I was like touching base on like the KKK, how they still are America's first domestic terrorist group, homegrown on American soil, and the atrocities and the murders they have been doing for so many years and years and years and years. But we're gonna get off of that right there. But Corbin Burnson, his character Duke Medgar, is actually spliced from former KKK member David Duke and the white nationalist, I believe it's like Steve Metzger or something like that. I'm not for sure. So they just spliced his name. And of course, he is cleaning up his image and running for governor. And he is staying in an antebellum. And of course, his image consultant, who happens to be a mixed-raced man, and which is played by Roger Guenveur Smith, his plays Rhodey. They are cleaning up his image. She is paying him so many dollars and stuff. And dude just felt like just some type of like, entitled ass way to like stay in this antebellum that has a history that the slave owner who owned the place, he massacred his slaves after they were freed, and he was just too scared for them to like free him, so he just basically just hung them 12 bodies in the tree that sits out there in front of the plantation. And he just thought that was just so cute, and with his arrogance and stuff. And I'm just gonna say like this: who in the hell put that ugly ass Tyler Perry wig on Corbin Burnson? Whose idea was that? Rusty, if that was your idea, oh my gosh, that was the most terriblest wig I ever seen. But, anyways, Duke was actually not really trying to clean up his image. He still wanted to fake it till he make it, until he makes it into the governor's seat. Well, there was a man out there who is yelling and screaming because there was like so much commotion. There was news reporters outside. There was a lot of protesting and everything because he was in the helm of like this massacre that took place on the soil. And it was like one of those, like, really, a racist ass motherfucker who killed all the slaves, and then 100 years later, you have a racist motherfucker that's staying in the house. It's like a spit in the face. Basically, that's what it was. And so, the old man, Eli, he was like, the souls is going to get him, the souls. And everybody's like, what do you mean by the souls? And so he tells a little bit of a snippet that there was a lady there. She was an older lady. And that, like, she took all the souls of the slaves that the slave master have murdered and put them inside of dolls. And when the dolls are free from every atrocity that has happened, they can now be laying to rest. But inside those dolls is their souls because they're unrest. And they was really unrest because his ass was there. So there was like one scene of where Rhodey and Duke were taking turns to be the image consultant that Rhodey is, to help Duke, wipe the slate clean of his past. And Rhodey, all of a sudden, he fell back down the stairs and he broke his neck. With the video camera, it caught one of the dolls that was right there on the stairwell. They had his funeral, and there was the doll that came out of the photo, the mural that was set up in the office, and it was there in the limo. And so the doll was chunked, and so Duke made it back to the house. Now this is where the shit hits the fan. Duke started to notice some eerie, creepy things was going on in the house. He noticed the doll that he that was in the car earlier after the funeral, when he ran the tape back, that it was right there on the stairwell. Excuse me. And so he runs inside of his office, and he looks, it's gone. And now he thinking he's going crazy and out of his mind, so he's trying to rationalize everything, what's happening. And he's like, I didn't do nothing to y'all, And they was testing his ass. They was testing the shit out of his ass. Those dolls didn't want his ass there as it is anyways, because they knew what his intentions were. And so he takes the U.S. flag, so typical, and he hits the mural, and the mural starts spouting blood. And yeah, he's like, oh shit, now I'm really going crazy. Well, the doll has made it back into the house because there was this cool little knock, and I was just like, bro, ain't nobody out there but that little ass doll. So you hear all this tapping and everything. So first of all, if I hear tapping in the house like that, and I seen this little ass doll that I threw out the car and made it back, ran back to the house, and sitting up on top of the steps like, hey, how you doing, like that, you think I'm gonna be sitting up there cussing this little doll out and stuff? Hell no, I don't care about that. That's a voodoo doll. Shit, y'all, shit. Oh hell, y'all ain't on that right there. I would have ran out the hell out the house and everything. Shit. Forget the other two and stuff. He was supposed to be waiting on later on that night. They was coming back. But, so he gets the doll. He puts it on the dartboard. Boy, I remember that dartboard. That is the dartboard that every dad had in their house. Because my dad had a dartboard just like that, and we used to play darts. and he blows a hole with a shotgun. And of course, he goes off talking about, I'm gonna shoot your little Negro balls. And I was like, really? Really? And got to thinking, I was like, you know what? There was like that time when people actually did say shit like that. And I was just like, what are Negro balls? I done seen all shades of balls. But I never like know about Negro balls. Trust me, I've seen all shades of balls. But I never refer any of those that I have seen as Negro balls. Balls, just come in different colors. But anyways, so he blows this little doll. I mean, he looks idiotic pinning a doll on a dartboard and shooting him with a double-barrel shotgun. Call me crazy. And he runs back into the house and he looks there. And look, guess what? There was more dolls that came out of the mural. Ooh! Now he done really messed up. Now he done messed up so badly to where he is shaking. He don't know what to do with the little badass ugly wig he got on. And then we come to see that the doll that he shot up has came back to life, stitched himself back up with the magic of voodoo. Hoodoo voodoo. Doesn't matter. And yeah, they attacked his ass. I think that was the funniest thing ever. Of course, he shouts so many obscenities and so many N-words in here. And I know some people get really offended by the N-word, but you got to think about it. This is dialogue. And trust me, if you know anybody that is in a white supremacy group, I have actually met somebody that was in those. Really, really scary. Really scary. I'm just going to say it like that. Just really scary. I was very defensive too. Not like just on defense mode, just in case. That's usually the type of language that they use. And it's part of their dialogue. It's crazy, but I'm just like, dang, I used the N-word more than black people. I'm just like, how weird. That was strange. But yeah, he had, and then he was just, in bitch and all. I done been called the N bitch word too by a dude. I was just like, wow, like you just reduced yourself to the scum of the earth, which I did tell him he was the scum of the earth for calling me that, because I don't even know you like that. There it is. Crazy, isn't it? Very hurtful, but that I was just like, wow, you're a grown-ass man calling me that. Because he got rejected. I rejected him. He got rejected. That's the reason why he called me that. That's fucking crazy right there. I didn't call him no kind of crazy-ass names, but he just called me that N-word bitch. And I was just like, wow. Can you come up with anything different? You know what I'm saying? If you call me a trash can, dumpster, garbage juice, garbage pail kid and everything, I would have applauded him if he would have called me that. But he called me the N bitch, and I was just like, whoa, really? Wow. You have, man, I was just like, man, you have no sense of humor. You suck, basically. You racially use a derogatory word towards me. Then you call me a bitch with it, and I'm just like, there ain't no hope for you, bro. Sure ain't. Shit, you just might as well just mark your ass off of humanity's list and go crawl in a hole and die. That's just how I felt. But old Duke got his lesson and everything. Don't be sitting up camp in no antebellum knowing there is unrestful slaves that has been wrongfully murdered, and then your racist ass thinking with your own entitled ass bitch self thinking that you can can get away with the shit. They didn't let you get away with it. That's what happened. But even though there was not a casket of being said during Mr. Sims telling all three of the guys that, of this story, but he did have the doll with him. Now the guys are getting really straight up antsy as hell because they wonder where's the shit. Where is the shit, man? Quit fucking with us. Where's the shit? Where's the shit? But he says, come on down here and I'll show you right now. They're being antsy. They didn't care. They was getting ready to shoot him and shit. He's like, I got another one to tell y'all. Come on now. Come on, bro. Come on, come on, come on. And he bust out with the fourth one, and this one is about Crazy K. Crazy K did not give a damn about himself or nobody else or anything in the whole wide world. Crazy K is from the streets. He did not give a crap. He will shoot anything and anybody, a dog, a child, people playing basketball, old people, anything. Because he's Crazy K, trying to make that name for himself, thinking he's big and bad and tough and things like that and everything. Well, one night, Crazy K seen somebody that, a little bit of a turf war thing, or, somebody done wronged him in the past and shit. So he follows them to the neighborhood. Well, the guy walks out, and back in the day, we used to say murk and all that crap and everything. Back then was smoke. Man, go smoke this fool. So he smoked his ass right there at his homie's house. Well, anyways, the homies heard it and they come running out. 3 guys come running out. So they shot his ass up too. They put some holes in his ass. And that's where his story begins. Well, Crazy K, of course, he's in jail. They take him to a facility. And he has this choice to where he can be rehabilitated. It was a very experimental rehabilitation center that he was going to. Looked like some old scary ass on top of the mountain, Dr. Frankenstein type, mental asylum type thing right there. So this whole program is ran by Dr. Cushing, and Dr. Cushing was like, I'm going to give you a chance. So she puts all the bells and whistles on his ass. It looks very torturous. Reminds me of A Clockwork Orange, whenever they were rehabilitating McDowell, character on A Clockwork Orange, for him to see all these crazy things like rape and all kinds of stuff like that. So they did that to Crazy K. And so they put him in this dark room, and he had all these flickering lights, and he starts seeing the ghosts of all these people that he shot and killed and everything else. And he starts to get really pissed off because he's saying that's not his fault. A bullet ain't got nobody name, type shit like that. I used to hear shit like that. Bullet ain't got no name, and I'm just like, then why the son bitch shooting then? And he couldn't take all of the souls that he have taken from these people, and he's just trying to sit out and have a name for himself because he's Crazy K and stuff. Well, before all that, Crazy K is sat next to a cell of a white Aryan brother. Yes, one of the ABs. I'm gonna call him short AB. AB. You know what I'm saying? I've met 1 or 2 of them before. Ex-ABs. There's one I currently met that was in the ABs. Can't get out and shit. On time you get out of that shit is when you die. That's how you get out of that. Yeah. That person let me know about that. I was like, God dang, it's just like a game, for real. So the guy that's sitting next to him, he was telling him that he was a good nigger and a good spade, and he want to put him and make him a soldier because the way how he is. But it was one thing about what the AB told him is that he was doing a damn good job, and he pointed it out, you kill your brethren, you kill your brothers, and he said you already doing the job that we wanted to do. like, thank you for your services of killing all your people, killing them off. And Crazy K punched him and everything. But, homeboy was right. He definitely was right. He was like, you killing all of the black people off and everything, but you ain't no different from me. And he sure wasn't no different from him. He definitely wasn't. Just because he was on a different level of what he was doing. One was killing, his brothers in the black community for like power and name and things like that. And the other one was killing for racial purity. They were still the same. Different methodology, but still the fucking same. And that's what he was pointing to Crazy K with that. And I was like, shit, get it through his head, because like Crazy K ain't even getting it. Like, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, homie, right? Even though he on that mad crazy ass, racial purity shit, but he right though of what he was saying to Crazy K. You kill your own people. For what? Why are you doing it? Knowledge. For reals. But Crazy K did not learn nothing from his rehabilitation. So it went back to his body that he was right on the ground, still coughing up blood, still bleeding, 3 guys around him, surrounding him with guns. And here comes the police, and he was like, damn, say about the motherfucking police. But actually, Crazy K died. And when those 3 guys, like, seeing Crazy K of the coffin that Mr. Sim raised up, they were just like, we don't know this cat, but they killed that cat that night. I think it was not that night, but maybe like a couple of days later, before they went to go get the shit. I think that's how it was supposed to go. And then, of course, they kept going on, like, man, come on now, quit fucking with us and stuff. And Mr. Sims says, you know what? Are y'all ready? He raised, them 3 coffins raised up. He told them, like, look, y'all didn't make it. Y'all didn't make it now. Because after y'all done killed Crazy K, shit, y'all got smoked y'all damn self. Y'all just nothing but some damn spirits trying to find your way back. And when you find your way back, you find your way back to hell. And this is where Mr. Sims revealed his true nature, his true self in a very delicious form. Here is the shit. This is hell. And he's sitting there laughing and stuff. I love that right there. I love that part. They was burning and stuff. That was so awesome. And that was the end of the movie. So, like, really, what did, like, Tales from the Hood, like, teaches us? Tales of the Hood teaches us a whole bunch of shit. Not just things that just plague, like, the black community and things like that, but other things also that affects other people of, like, Hispanics and Latin and, people all over the world and everything that face shit like this, racial injustice, police brutality, domestic violence, you even have, like, people, like, have, like, these running for governor and office and things like that, and they have, like, a very sinister nature, a very sinister past of them, that they have, and they're trying to clean up their image, but they're still the same person. I mean, like they always say, a tiger never changes its stripes. And guess what? That tiger never changes its stripes. I ain't never seen no tiger that changed his stripes and stuff to, like, polka dot or whatever. If that tiger do, that's a badass motherfucker, I tell you that. But Rusty Cundieff, like, really did wrote this movie. I could tell the way how he presented it, though it has do have some continuity goofs with it. But still, in all, I feel that it is perfect. It is a classic. No, some of the special effects did not pan out. You gotta understand, like, this movie, it wasn't like on some top tier budget or whatever. Um, you gotta like understand, like, this movie like was really cool to watch because it hit on so many points, and it still has a significance not only in horror movies in history, but also like social and worldly things of today also. I mean, damn, it's kind of weird. You know how like people say like those Simpson episodes that predicted this, that, and everything else? It kind of reminds me of a Simpsons episode, but this one is totally like that nightmare that has been plaguing for like now 3 decades, you know, and a little bit more than that. I mean, he shedded that light of like how black people will see things from a different perspective and what like we go through that is horror for us. And I think it's like I mean, I know like some people, may feel that, oh, it's not worth it or whatever. I think it's worth watching. It is produced by 40 Acres and a Mule, by Spike Lee. I think he did a very wonderful job of like producing this movie. Darren Scott also produced this movie, and like I said, Rusty Cundieff did direct it and write it. I definitely really enjoyed it very, very much. It still is a tale that doesn't feel like it's definitely a tale. It does feel like real life, because in a way it is like a lot of these tales, these stories in here. It is about real life horror things that has happened to not only me but the other people too. People from different walks of life that have experienced things like this. So I feel that it is a masterpiece of um, very, very well storytelling, and it's always going to be like a really very, very nice movie, a very nice horror movie that I can still enjoy like 10, 20, 30 years later. I mean, even my kids watched it and they still remember, like, oh wow, the dolls, oh man, that that scene where the dude, get his arm twisted when Walter like pulls back the folds the paper on his drawing of Carl the monster. I mean, you have like where people haven't watched a movie in a long time and they still remember those parts of the movie because I mean, it's not an unforgettable movie. It is a very rare gem of a movie, especially in horror cinema. Well, that's enough of my time. I'm glad I didn't cough, cough, cough all through this podcast. And I'd like to thank you for listening to the Random Horror Show as we talk about tonight's podcast, Tales from the Hood. And I sure do appreciate your listening ears. And thank you so much, and you have a good night.